Tonight on Let It Rip.
Are women more now courageous to come forward?
For the last 14 years, you've seen Huel Perkins, the host. But before saying goodbye to all of us, tonight he's Huel Perkins, the guest. And for the first time ever, Monica Gayle joins the panel. Get ready, because Huel and Monica are finally ready to let it rip. It's time to let it rip on this very special show. We're going to reflect on the life of the man who pioneered the show that so many people talk about, sometimes yell about. Let it rip, Huel Perkins. And his on-air partner of a quarter century, the always affable and incomparable Monica Gayle. Joining me on the panel right now, the former chief meteorologist at Channel 2, I think it was, Chris Edwards, sports guru Dan Miller, of course, the current chief meteorologist, Rich Ludeman, Huel and Monica. Chris Edwards, let me start with you. You're kind of the senior member, other than these two here, for a little bit. You first came to Fox News, or it wasn't Fox, I don't think, at the time, it was Channel 2, 2004. First impression of Huel Perkins.
Well, when I first walked in the door, it was WJBK. It was the fall of 1989, I'll tell you. And you know what? I had been here just long enough to figure out where the bathrooms were, about 4 weeks maybe, and this tall guy walks in with this upright posture and just dapper as the dawn of day, and I'm like, who is this guy? It was Huel Perkins, young Huel Perkins, and let me tell you, from the moment I saw him, it was like, this guy has a quiet confidence. And now, all these years later, we know he's confident, no longer quiet.
That's right.
But from the minute I met him, I'm like, this is a guy who deserves attention, and you want to listen to what he says. He didn't come in here with the idea that he was going to change everything all of a sudden. He was here to learn. He was here to listen and move on from there. And I'd say he's done it.
Well, look, I don't want this to be about me, guys.
No,
I'm
no,
gonna let it rip, and let me tell you why. Because I want this show to be about the team we have, the magic we had together, the amazing things we were able to accomplish in a short amount of time. When the powers that be, Neil Goldstein, Jim Clayton, put us all together, magic happened. And I wanted to bring us all together to say thank you to all of you.
I just want to clarify something.
Dan.
Now, Charlie said that we're going to reflect on your life, and there's RIP in the title. You're just retiring. You're not telling us.
But you know what? Let me bring you something up, though. The magic. You do this show every day. How do you keep it fresh? Where is that magic? What happens?
This guy right here keeps it going. It's the truth. It's the truth. I mean, week in and week out, I mean, from all the different stories, local and national and international, it always comes back to Huel and his perspective and the guests and all the connections he has. He knows everybody in this town. And he makes it work, and there's scrambling to be done. I mean, how many nights have we seen Huel scrambling? You know, Thursday.
A little while ago, really.
Yeah.
Right.
And then, boy, it comes together. Smooth as silk.
You know what? And these two are the first ones you see. And these two are the ones that you see the most. So I think you really need to start there. But I think also in this business, look, when we got put together, Chris had been here, Huel had been here, the roles were being elevated. Monica and I and Rich had no history in Detroit. We came here hoping this was going to work out. And it takes a little bit of luck, okay? There is luck involved in this business. And Fox was down here, Fox 2. I mean, and then it started to rise, but our rise also coincided with the rise of the network. The network started to get a better programming. The network sports footprint started to grow. So all these things, I think, helped, but I think there is a little bit of magic when you put these people together. And I think that, there's no guarantees when that happens, but I still maintain this. It starts with these two, because they're the ones that you see most often. If you want to put it in a sports term, they set the tone for everything else that happens in the newscast.
Someone saw the magic of this group here. But Monica, I've got to ask you that when you came, you were very hesitant and actually didn't even come to Detroit here when they wanted you here.
Well, I was pregnant at the time, very pregnant, and I couldn't travel. And so they actually flew out to me, and they were smart. They brought like bags of baby gifts for me to try to woo me. And they said, what's it going to take? And I let them know, and they said, done. but I couldn't fly out and look around. So they flew my husband out, and they kind of wined and dined him and schmoozed him. And he's the one that came back and said, I think we can make a life here. I think it's a go. So as soon as the baby was born, then we came out, and I remember my son Tanner was 5 weeks old when we came out here for that promotional shoot.
Yep.
And we didn't know each other when we walked in that room. And we sat down, we did the photos, and we kind of joked around, and and then it happened. Like, the magic happened relatively quickly. Huel and I clicked almost immediately.
Yeah. Chris, when you left Fox 2, we can say that, but coming back here now and seeing this, did you ever imagine that this team and these two would be around for so long?
I knew it would be a good long run, and I loved my part in it, but to be frank, no, I didn't. I mean, this business chews people up, and they're good people, but I didn't think it would last. No, I didn't. And I have loved, even not being a part of it, I have loved watching it. And I just have to say about getting together, one of the things that Monica brought to this, number one, network experience. She was from the West Coast. I was from the West Coast. There are very few of us in this business, certainly in Detroit, that are from the West Coast. I'm like, yeah, I like that. And she tolerated way too much testosterone, and she moderated the whole thing in a classy way from day one. It was great.
Huel, Let It Rip. I just gotta say something about Let It Rip. What is it about Let It Rip? You've had how many guests? Every politician. How many careers were made? What is it about Let It Rip that started? It kind of started not to what it is right now.
How many careers did they ruin?
They ruined a few too.
They took some people down on this show.
Unbelievable.
I mean, think about what's happened in this city.
Absolutely.
They gave you constant content.
No question about it. Well, Let It Rip began thanks to Dana Hahn, who was the news director at the time, who was ordered by the network to come up with a show that incorporated our opinions. They saw it happening on the Fox News channel, that opinions would sometimes add viewers. So they said, well, even our local affiliates, our O&Os, owned and operated stations, should have that same sort of thing. So Dana traveled the country, went to several places, saw something in Boston called Let It Rip, in which the anchors and reporters would sit around talking. So the first Let It Rip was just that. Dan and Rich and I and maybe another reporter would sit around talking about the subject of the day. We would talk for 30 seconds each, and the bell would ring, and then we go to the next subject. That was the original Let It Rip. It was 10 to 15 minutes long.
And I think that lasted about as long as cut flowers. Well, I think they realized at that point that us sitting around giving our opinions on the news of the day
but it
might not be the best idea.
But it started working. The breakthrough, though, was during, I think, the trials and tribulations of former Mayor Kwame Kilpatrick. That's when we found the formula. We started inviting people who loved Kwame, who thought Kwame was being persecuted by the media. We had them on the show. We had people who also hated Kwame, thought he was the worst thing in the world. And we put them together and let them express their feelings and opinions, and the audience blew up. It soon became appointment television. So much so that every politician
wanted to be on
the show.
And the crazy thing is that, and probably the test for it is, you can say Let It Rip to anybody out there and they know what you're talking about. That's not normal for something that people try to do locally. It took off and it stayed at an elevated level. And I think, again, I think the atmosphere around Detroit and all of the things that were going on during all that time, there always, it seemed, was something they put on your plate that you could bring people in to talk about that interested the people that were viewing.
And that's how we choose our subject matter. We look at the news of the day, the hot topics of the day. And we would actually have people on who would come on and challenge the FBI to indict them. If you've got something on me, indict me. Sam Riddle.
And they wanted to.
And he was
some of them have been
indicted.
indicted too, and convicted. But that's a different story, though. Okay, Let It Rip, no question about it. I got to ask you two. Everybody knows about the implosion. Tell me, Monica.
It lives on.
Tell me, go take us back there. You were sitting there. Where were you? And did you ever think that you'd be covered with the Hudson story.
Well, no, because when we were told we're going to go cover this live, it was really one of the first big stories I think that we covered together on location. And we were told you're going to be on this rooftop with a great, bird's eye view of the Hudson building, and you're going to be safe. And there was a little studio set up and with all the big lights and cameras and everything, a big crew, and we had Al Allen down on the ground, right, with a bird's eye view from the ground level, and we had crews all over, and we were like, okay, so we're sitting out there, and nobody realized how that implosion was going to play out. I mean, they knew it was going to be controlled, but I don't think anybody saw that cloud until it was on us.
And I'm still coughing up just
I was gonna say, how dirty were you? I didn't mean that.
The great news is Monica
Filthy.
had her last lung scan today.
I'm
She's clear.
We can still make a workers' comp case out of this, okay? No.
Yeah, I got
just
like
kidding.
1 day, right?
That's like you Google that and it
Yeah.
automatically comes up.
I want to say something about that because, Monica, you were so cool and graceful under that kind of fire. I mean it. It put you in a whole new light. We all admired your coolness with this whole implosion thing and the soot everywhere. It's still talked about in Detroit circles.
Okay, so I remember sitting, we were about this close, had a table in front of us, and we realized we need to put these masks on because this cloud is big. And I remember looking at each other over those masks, looking into each other's eyes, and it was like, oh my God. And what have we gotten ourselves into?
And you're on TV.
And we're live.
Cameras
And we're
roll.
live.
Cameras
And we
roll.
stayed live the whole time. And at one point I think we were just enveloped. You couldn't even see us. So yeah, it was a wild experience, and it was like, okay, welcome to Detroit.
All right. It is one of the memories that so many people have. All right, hold that thought. We're going to reminisce a little bit more. We also want to find out what these two are doing after television. Will they be back? Let It Rip continues. Welcome back to Let It Rip, the legendary duo Huel Perkins, Monica Gayle with us, along with Rich Luderman, Chris Edwards, Dan Miller. Let me go to Chris Edwards here. You are the only one on this panel who is retired. You've been retired for a couple
I got no
of
time.
years. That's right. First of all, seriously, you've been in television for so long. Do you miss it? And if you do, be honest, I know you do. What do you miss? I think.
Paycheck.
So honest on Let It Rip. You know what? For the most part, I don't miss it. Being in this building again, I miss some people, okay? I miss some good, wonderful people, and that's the best way to have a tremendous time, is to work with great people through and through, and I had the privilege to do that. I miss that. But I'll tell you what, I don't miss waking up at 1:30 in the morning, and I'm sure Rich can relate to this. When a thunderstorm comes through, now I get to just watch. If it snows 10 inches and it was supposed to snow 2, I don't care. I just play in the snow, okay? That's nice.
But
That's
both
nice.
of you are so good at what you do.
So accurate.
But let me tell you this. When Chris told me he was leaving, I went into his office and I said, "Are you a fool? What are you doing leaving this wonderful job to go off and do projects with the kids at school?" But you know what? He left anyway, and he's a multi-millionaire. So
Thanks. Huel, thanks for cleaning up what you said when you came in, because
Nice
I don't
recovery.
remember it quite that way, but you made yourself known. Yes, you did. And as I asked you the other day, did you not ever in your life ignore a good piece of advice? I think we all have. But I had a great time here, and I had a great time with my kids at a point in their life that
you made the right choice for you.
These guys were great. I mean, Monica and I were much younger than them, so we would listen to them quite often. And Huel, and your line that I will never forget, Huel is kind of prone at times to making statements and giving you his opinion. Huel would tell us,
Proclamations, we call
the
them.
stock market is going to crash. You must take your money out now. That's pretty good. At one point, Chris turns and he goes, Huel has predicted 9 of the last 2 stock market crashes. And I'll never forget that line, but that was the relationship they had, the back and forth. And the 4 of us had on set. It was, you're up there and you have 2.5 minutes in a commercial to share your lives with each other. And it's amazing how much close you become during that time.
Well, and we talked about this earlier. We've all kind of raised our kids together. You know, they were right around the same age, new babies, toddlers, what have you. And so we've raised our families together. They've grown up together. And our kids are now all grown-ups, and they were just babies when we started. And, you know, it does feel like it kind of went by in the blinking of an eye when you look back on it, you know? So.
Do you know, did it feel for the two of you it was time to go?
We had been discussing this for the last 2 years. We felt it was time to maybe chart another course, but then the pandemic hit. And we didn't think it was maybe right to leave then when the world was in such flux and there was so much uncertainty. So we thought maybe we'd stay a little while longer. But for me, it was the death of good friends. I'm 67, I'm almost 70. And when my good friends started to die, the same age as I am, that made me realize that I needed to live while I had the health to enjoy it. And I went to Monica and gave her a date.
Yeah, this is a funny story because we were wearing masks because of the pandemic, and we were socially distancing in the newsroom. There weren't very many of us here in the station. Everybody was working from home. And we were talking about it, and Huel said, okay, I'm ready to retire. And I said, okay, when? And again, muffled mask. I thought he said May 25th. And I was thinking of going earlier than that. And I'm like, well, I don't think I can hang out that long. And then we sat down with the general manager and we were talking about it, and he said, well, when were you thinking, Monica? And I said, well, I was thinking more, you know, maybe January. And Huel's like, well, why don't you just go out with me, March 25th? And I said, what do you mean March 25th? You said May 25th. And he's like, oh, but we had masks on and it was muffled. So then I'm like, okay, what's a couple of months? Let's go out together.
So what are you going to do? All right, Monica, what are you going to do?
Well, you know, everybody that I talked to that's retired said, you will be busier than you've ever been. So I'm confident that I am going to be busy. I've got lots of projects, you know, house projects, travel once the world lets us.
Where are you going to go?
I'm going to go everywhere. I'm doing Europe, Greece, Italy, France. I'm going to take cooking lessons in all those countries because I'm a foodie. I want to drink great wine, see beautiful things, and you know, we've worked hard. I've been in this business for 40 years, and 25 of them here. So I'm ready to sort of not have this rigid schedule and, you know, see what life brings us.
Huel,
Same
what are you
thing.
going to do?
Travel. Crisscrossing the world. My wife and I are big tennis fans, so we're going to every major tournament. We've always gone to the U.S. Open in New York for the last 28 years, but because of the pandemic, we didn't. But we're going back to New York. We're going to Wimbledon, London. We're going to the French Open in Paris. We're going to the Australian Open in Melbourne. We are going to Dubai, Tokyo, Mumbai, Oslo, and across the world. We are going to as many places as we can, while it's safe. And I also bought an 88 key electric piano, guys.
No.
And I am going to play music. I have no talent, but I'll have a lot of time. It's going to be great.
All right, give them advice. What are they going to miss? What's the hardest part?
The hardest part is when a big story breaks. Yeah. You guys, it's in your blood.
It gets the juices going.
It's in your blood. Yeah, you know, and you'll always have that, and that's cool. But my advice would be to do the things that you're talking about doing. Enjoy every minute of it. You, as you said, Monica, you have worked very hard. So go enjoy, and I know that I love your plans. That's precisely what, until the pandemic hit, my wife and I were weeks away from the Himalayas. We were going to trek the Himalayas. You got to do that stuff. Yeah. And because, as you mentioned, you're not going to be young forever. Do the things while you can. I know you guys will do that.
If you didn't have this job, news anchor, network, traveled around the country doing this job, what would you be doing, do you think?
Well, my plan was always to go to law school and go into law, you know, just like my buddy over here. And so I kind of stumbled into TV, but I never looked back. But law school was always kind of plan B for me. And I don't regret 1 second of the way my life has played out and my career has played out. I've done everything I've wanted to do. I was able to work at the network level. So I feel really fulfilled and content with my career. I'm really excited about this next chapter.
It's going to be great. I was in law school, just like you. I
finished it. I did it the other way.
I didn't think, right. I was in law school, and I was working part-time in TV, and then somebody flew down from St. Louis and offered me more money than I'd ever seen in my life, and said, won't you come and anchor the news in St. Louis? And I said, I'll try. I'll maybe do it for a year and go back to law school. And Steve Antonetti said at the time, well, if you don't work out, son, I'll fire you the first month. So don't worry about it. But I went to St. Louis. It worked out very well. And then the next thing I know, I was here in Detroit, and where I've been for the last 32 years. So I'm very, very blessed, and very blessed to have had a partner beside me who's just been amazing.
Not to be lost in all this, and it probably goes without saying, but what we're dealing with here and what we're sitting next to and what we're saying goodbye to is incredible talent. I mean, really, if you look at what they've done in this business, people don't get to sit in the same anchor chair for 25 years. That just doesn't happen in this business. And to be frank, the majority of people don't walk out the door when they want to walk out the door. They're asked to walk out the door. These guys could have been here for as long as they wanted to be because they're that good, they're that talented, and that's why we're going to miss them, because we know they're the rocks that we leaned on for so long. And I just think, we're saying goodbye and we're telling them job well done. Let's not lose sight of the fact that these guys were just incredible at what they did. They went into a business and they became great at it, and we got to sit next to them, which is really cool.
Does the city of Detroit play a role in your career? Is there something when you walk down the street, there's a vibe here?
I say every chance I get that I owe the city of Detroit a debt I can never repay, because they embraced this son of Louisiana as one of their own. And how and why that happens, I don't know. It's an intangible thing. But I would like to believe they saw in me an honesty. They developed a trust in me that I think will persist even after I'm gone.
Monica, real quick.
And I was an outsider as well. And they embraced me, my family. To this day, people, when I am out and about, say, I feel like I know you, I feel like you're my girlfriend. And that's the greatest compliment.
All right.
I thought it was just Luderman that said that.
All right, we're not done yet. Final thoughts coming up, but we took a little Let It Rip on the road. That's coming up too. Don't go away. Monica Gayle, Huel Perkins, it's their last day.
Is it last day?
Great newscasters, yes. They're retiring, correct?
They are.
I've been watching them since I was a little kid.
You're used to turning on Fox, and you're used to seeing those two faces, especially in the evening.
I like Huel. I like Monica too.
It's okay.
As long as they're good.
They're good. Okay. Nothing bad is happening to them.
Just good people, man. That's all I could say.
Baton Rouge native. I'm from Southern University.
How has Huel Perkins changed on television from when you first saw him in Louisiana?
No change.
What do they mean to Detroit?
Well, they're part of the fabric of Detroit. They've been around long enough.
He's an honest, true person to me. He tell you the real.
Monica Gayle.
Seasoned veteran.
Yeah, the face of Detroit news. I mean, they've been here for decades, and they're going to be remembered and missed.
What would you say to Monica Gayle? Look in that camera.
Love you, babe.
Time now for final thoughts. Monica.
I am so grateful. I am so thankful to have landed here, to have been able to stay here for the last 2.5 decades and work next to this guy, my great friend. We were a partnership on the set, but we were also a partnership offset, and I don't mean that the way that sounds.
I knew it. I knew it. Come on.
No, I'm just so grateful and happy that we got to have this time together. I really am.
Huel.
Well, it's extremely rare, but Monica and I, from the very first time we met, knew we would be together as an anchor team for perpetuity. We are able to communicate sometimes without even speaking to each other. We know what we're thinking, we know what we're feeling, we know what the audience, I think, is feeling. And we are also blessed to have had a great team. My God, you guys are phenomenal. You really are. Rich,
We feel
Charlie,
the same.
Dan,
for sure.
Chris,
We feel the same.
we could not have done it without you, and I thank you all, and I thank you for watching all these years.
And that is it for this edition of Let It Rip.